Okay, so we'll start as usual by drawing a circle in pretty much the same place, pretty much the same size, and it doesn't have to be perfect at all. It's just important to get the general shape of the circle out there, and then we continue. Usually, I mean, at least for the front view, we had a line coming down the front because that's where the middle of the face is. We had a line coming down the middle of the face because that's where, that shows us where to put the features, but because he's going to be looking in this direction, we are going to put the line on this side of his face. And we're not going to have it be a straight up and down line like the line for the front view. You have to think of the circle as a 3D object and make this line curved. That shows us that there are certain parts of his face that go out and certain parts that come in. And now we will divide the circle in half, and coming off of this intersecting line, we will draw two lines coming down, tilting, leaning against the edge of the circle, and we will put a line below, just below the bottom of the circle, and this is where it will connect. Only instead of it meeting evenly in the middle, we'll have it meet where this line comes off. And as you can see, I've made the angle much less steep, and then we connect it. Now, if we were going to keep the shape of the face precisely as it is, this would be a very young character, because as you can see, the jaw is very small, the chin is very pointed and tiny, and the forehead is absolutely massive. Those are characteristics of a very young character, but this boy we're drawing, Yoshi, he is definitely older, so we are going to give him a thicker jaw and a longer one. So let's just put that in and erase these guidelines. And right now, nothing at all has to be perfect at all. Okay, now this line, you see, this is going to be the top of the eyes. It shows us where the eyebrows will go. And then halfway down this half of the circle is the bottom line. And we're going to curve this just slightly to show us how the eyes are going to be put in. Now, on this side, the eye is going to be directly in the middle. While on this side, it's going to be much closer to the dividing line of the face. When we actually put the eye in, it will not be touching this dividing line, but this is about the shape that we're going to be using. And because of that, we are going to carve out the face. When we get to the eyes, we carve inwards and then go right back out. We're not going to do a lot of very smooth and defined lines for this character because he's a boy and we really want him to look masculine. So we're going to give him a strong angular jaw. And then I'm going to erase the bottom of this circle. If we need it later, we can easily draw it back in. And now do you see this line that's coming off that was originally making the jawline? We can actually just drag this down and make the neck instantly. The other side of the neck will be coming from here. And because the head is curved, this line will curve in and come down from the edge of that eye to right here. And now we have the rough guidelines for the neck. Now I'm going to put in the rough guidelines for the ears. As you remember, the ears go about as high as the eyes. So we're going to put in a teardrop shape and erase the other side. You don't even have to draw that in if you don't want to, but it's just a guideline that I'm showing you that you can use here. And then you will not actually touch the edge of the ear in this view. You will make a curve and come in and go back out and then come in sharply again and make this hook. And from here, from the middle of the top arch, we just do a line down. On this side of the face, you don't even always put in the ear, but I'm just going to put in a tiny little indication right there by the eye. And now we can put in the nose. Now before we do the nose, I want to take a look at the eyebrows. We may or may not keep these eyebrows actually, but this is how you can put in some really easy guidelines for your character's nose. Curve down. You can choose either side to use. I'm going to use this side. And using the curve of the eyebrows, you can measure the arch of the nose of your character. If you study pictures of, say, makeup women or maybe comic book women, you can see that there's actually a connecting line from their eyebrows to their nose. And that is visible in even real-life photographs, if you want to check that out on some real people. So now we're going to put in the mouth, and you can just faintly see this guideline that I put back in. This is where the bottom of the circle was, and just above this line we put in the mouth. And as you can see, it is more on this side of the face than on this side. That's because the mouth is in the middle of the face, and currently the middle is more towards our left. Now let's get to work on the eyes. We're not going to do it like the girl's eyes because we really want him to look very masculine. So we do an arch up here and an arch down here so that this box looks kind of like a little kid drawing of a house. And then we come down on this line. And I'm going to do it on the other side. And as you can see, this is actually thinner than this one, but you will still put in the arch, the angular arch, just as the other side looks. Then we'll put in our circle. On this side it's more of an oval. And I've actually brought it off, this back lash, because he's going to be looking at us. So that will narrow the pupil down a lot more. Then we will put in a small highlight. No big starry eyes for boys. And this line, dividing it in half. The line arches upwards. And we put a very thick U shape on that line. And this one goes farther towards the edge of the eye because he has to be looking at us. Now, if you guys are like, hey, this doesn't look like Yoshi, I am actually doing a few different ways to draw boy characters over this series, as I did a little bit with Ayano, my How to Draw Girls series, but I didn't really explain it, so it might not look right. But this one is going to look a little different from his front view. His front view was supposed to be a much gentler boy's face, and this one is a little stronger than the other boy's face. So now let's get to work on the eyes. The first thing we'll do is shade in the pupil. We are actually going as dark as we can go right here. Of course, this tutorial is pretty much for drawing with graphite pencils. If you actually want to ink this in and color it later, then I strongly urge you not to shade in anything at all, actually, but you can watch me shade so you know what to do with your colors, at least a little bit. So, if you're working in graphite, shade this in as dark as possible all the way up to the top. Just below the top lash, shade in completely dark as well. Then, you see this dividing line? Shade this just a little lighter. and then bring it down a little bit. Outline this some more, and at the bottom of the pupil we will put in just a tiniest bit of shade, and at the bottom of the eye the tiniest little bit too. This will give your eye a more 3D and realistic look with like real shines and stuff. So now I am making this less of a circle, and I'm darkening the outlines and bringing it down. And I'll do the same here. And now let's erase these eyebrows, which are far too close to the eyes, and we'll put the actual ones a little higher. And as you can see, we have them arched just a little. We could actually have them lower if we want to contribute more to the masculine look, so that he almost, if he wasn't smiling, maybe he would look angry. Having the eyebrows look angry on a boy doesn't really make him intimidating. It makes him look like determined, strong. So that's what we're going for here. And now I'm going to erase all the smudges, because for some reason whenever I use my Dixon Ticonderoga pencil, it really smears. I just go nuts with this thing. Okay. So now that we've got that, we are going to put in the shoulders. Like I said, this is kind of a different version of him, so he looks a little older. And his shoulders will come down this far here, and almost twice as far here. That's because he's tilted in this direction, which means that this section of his shoulders is actually receding into the distance, which makes it look smaller. And this one is almost coming towards us. Now I'm going to round these off and make them more relaxed. And I'm just going to sketch in the basics of the hair right now. It's going to be the same hairstyle, but I think just a little wilder, because you know he might not want to keep his hair so well kept. He might want to look a little wild. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm just going to put a few little small strands here and there. And these in the back, for the most part, are just straight up and down triangles. This makes it look really spiky and not really messy, really. Just, it's a cool look. Like he almost keeps his hair done up really nice, but not quite. And as usual, we are varying the thicknesses and the lengths of these strands to keep things interesting. He looks like he could be a blonde. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm gonna keep giving him black hair because this is still Yoshi, even if he looks different. And that is that for the basics.